Our next question will be to Ms. Dowsett. You told us that you have had educational experience in many places, including other states and overseas. For example, what did you learn in Thailand that would benefit the Waltham Public Schools?
I spent a year in Thailand. I was teaching 5th and 6th grade, teaching literature, reading and writing to kids that had been learning English for some time. It's a bilingual school. They were not yet 100% proficient, but they were still learning. And I spent a year in that classroom getting to know those students and their families and their challenges in learning the language. Clearly, it's no surprise or no secret that we have a significant and growing English language learner population here in Waltham. And we are not yet meeting their needs. We're not yet making strides even that other communities with similar demographics are. And so my teaching abroad, both in Thailand and in Mexico, I think just gives me the experience of both being a language learner myself. I learned a little bit of Thai. I studied Spanish in Mexico. And on the other side of teaching and really being immersed in that culture and getting a better understanding for what it is that we need when we're providing language services to our students. And a lot of it is rigorous academics, and a lot of it is also relationship building. And so I would bring those learnings to thinking about policy around our English language learner programs here in Waltham.
Thank you. And now a question from Mr. Frasico. You told us, and when I say us, I'm referring to the League,
Sure.
Responses that you've made. You told us that communication between some members of the school committee and parents to be non-existent. Can you give us specific ways you would address this issue as a member of the school committee?
Absolutely. When you talk to a parent who says, I feel like I'm not being listened to, or you talk to a parent who says, I feel like my words aren't strong enough to get actions from certain people, that bothers you. And as a parent, it bothers me even more. So I feel that, and I remember as a kid, it used to happen all the time in my neighborhood, we used to have office hours with elected officials. Used to be able to go over and visit them, and I remember my dad dragging me over there and sitting down and talking with one of the aldermen in town and discussing the issues that he was concerned about. That's what I would do. Allow those parents, administrators, whoever would like to talk to me, because if you're paying my salary to be on this school committee, you should have all the right in the world to talk to anybody you want to. If I'm an elected official, to talk to me and say, I have an issue and this is what I need to deal with and I need some help with. And then I, as that person, brings it back to the committee and shares it with everyone and tells them we have an issue somewhere in the neighborhood. Here's the person that's worried. That's where I feel I'd be strong with. Have those office hours, meet, go to the schools, talk with PTOs, visit the school councils. It's important just to be seen. And not during election time only. All the time. All the time. Go in and talk with people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next question for Ms. Limoncello, please. You told us that we need to adapt to a digital world and accept that this is how our young adults gather knowledge. What are your feelings about the decision to purchase iPads for all students?
Our one-to-one initiative was developed by the superintendent and the entire higher staff that we as a school committee decided to support that. We recently went digital ourselves as school committee members. I think it's important that we offer these experiences to our students as well as our staff. A lot of our staff are very new to the digital world, and if they want to be able to adapt with our children, and our children need to be competitive in this world, and one of those ways is to be able to examine different options in school, learn what it is to be responsible in that digital world, because we all have a digital footprint, and that is important to understand the repercussions of using it properly. And it also saves on paper, and it also saves on our children carrying these books, these heavy backpacks. I know my daughter comes home with a 10-pound backpack, and I wonder what that does to her back. So I am grateful that our superintendent is leading the way for this one-to-one initiative, and I am happy to support that.
Could I add a little
Certainly.
inquiry? Could you give us one quick example? I'm a product of the 19th century. Could you give us one quick example of an advantage that a student with an iPad would have? Just one quick example.
Well, for example, last year we had a second grade class that was actually piloting them, and they were a group of students that English was not their first language. They definitely had some difficulties at home, and that teacher was able to use those iPads to teach them how to speak the language. A lot of these apps that are on there actually teaches them English, reading, math, and we saw a significant increase in their reading levels, as well as their language skills, as well as their math skills.
Thank you. My next question will be for Ms. Bonfett. You told us you would ensure quality in all public Waltham schools. Can you tell us areas of inequality you see at this time and how you would address these inequalities?
Well, currently, what's been brought to my attention from people in the community, as well as my own personal experience, is some of the problems that we're experiencing in the elementary school levels is that schools are becoming overpopulated, where classrooms have had to, or specific office spaces or so forth have had to been taken over for classrooms, and not enough space is available in the schools or all of the schools for particular classes like ELL classes or special education classes to happen in an adequate learning environment. They're different from school to school, and each school seems to present its own list of problems. And parents are worried and upset in our community that one school may have something that another school doesn't have. And I think as a school committee member, I think we need to look at what programs, what is available in each of the schools, and make sure that they are offered to all of our Waltham community equally.
Thank you. Mr. Randall, please. You told us that you would make a concerted effort to increase morale among parents, teachers, and administrators. How would you go about doing this?
Well, first of all, let's understand, when someone is unhappy, they don't produce as well as they could, and somebody's going to suffer for that. I will visit the schools, and I will find out what the problem seems to be. Is it an individual school issue? Is it a departmental issue? Is it guilt over MCAS, pressure with AYP, adequate yearly progress, and see what I can do to resolve that. This brings me to another concern of mine. It's called affected teacher time by a lot of the paperwork that's required today. With the new teacher evaluation system, and I can't do a thing about it, it's a state mandated thing, but they have to goal set, they have to record their action steps and produce 8 pieces of evidence as to how they're going to come up to snuff. It's an awful lot of work. I was outside cutting the shrubs of my house the other day when a fellow teacher that I knew for years pulled up, told me he was going to retire. I asked him, are you at 80%? He said, no, I'm not at 80%, but the paperwork is so ridiculous that at this point in time I've decided to retire with what I have. Okay? So I would have to look into that and see what can be done, what help can be given these teachers with all these mandates that are placed upon them to increase that morale.
Thank you. That concludes our first round of questioning, and we'll go into round 2 at this point. And I'll begin this round with Ms. Dowsett. I'll just quote you a few statistics that were published recently.
Okay.
The MCAS scores of the Northeast and Whittemore elementary schools continue to remain in the bottom 20% of schools in Massachusetts. Also, 38% of Waltham third-grade math students are rated as needing improvement or failing after MCAS testing. And 52% of Waltham fourth-grade math students tested at needing improvement or failing levels. Would you respond to these statistics and tell us what you could do to address them and to improve on the performance of the Waltham Elementary School students?
Yeah, I do want to first,
I should add, I'll also add, are these data within the purview of the sphere of influence of the school committee? Is there anything you would commit yourself to doing to make future results better? I'm not putting the burden on your shoulders.
thank you. I do want to, although these, the statistics that you quoted are not where we want to be, clearly, I do want to just point out first that the state compares districts to something called their DART. So other cities, other school districts that have similar demographics, so similar income, similar levels of low-income students, special ed students, English language learners, that sort of thing. The website is fantastic. You can find all the information that you need, the Department of Education website. And if you compare Waltham to the 10 other communities that are considered to be our DART communities, comparable in many ways, our test scores are right in line. We're sort of first and second in ELA and math compared to those districts. So I think what that does is makes it clear that in part, we have a similar set of needs as a lot of other districts, and it's not a problem that's unique to Waltham in terms of getting those scores up and serving all of our students. In terms of what to do about it, I do think, first of all, that the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, Paul Mairano, has been implementing a district-wide professional development called Laying the Foundations, which is training lots of teachers to increase the rigor in the classrooms with a particular focus on math. I'm running out of time, but I think just making it a district priority and having our professional development geared toward that.